Yeah, so, and I'm going to bring Sonia in as well. Sonia Poulton, journalist and broadcaster. What's the answer to this? Is society too sexualised?
Of course it is, Nicky. I mean, I think anybody who truly says that it isn't is just deluding themselves. The reality is, this is nothing about us having to grow up, okay? The issue...
But are there plus sides to it? The fact that we have a sexualised society, which we perhaps didn't have 20, 30 years ago. Is there a plus side?
Is there a plus side? I've yet to find it, to be honest with you, but then I have been raising a teenage daughter through this. I mean, I often find that when it comes to the discussion of the sexualisation of children, the people who believe that our children not being sexualised also happen not to be parents as well. I think there's a whole big difference between educating people about sex and not finding it dirty. The idea of finding sexy dirty, obviously is ridiculous and needs to be relegated to the past, but there's a whole world of difference between the education of sex and the exploitation of sex.
Sean Gabb, your thoughts?
Okay, every time someone talks about the sexualisation of society, what he or she is doing is stating an entire argument, but the conclusion of that argument is usually along the lines of saving the kiddies, but really controlling adults. I don't believe... when you say that society is more sexualised, well, what it means is that people are more openly enjoying and celebrating the sexual act than has been the case in recent centuries. But, whether we're about to collapse under a tidal wave of filth is another matter entirely.
That is not what it's about at all. Look, let's look at how this is actually affecting the people on the ground, the children. We know now categorically that there are correlations between the sexualisation of our children, which has upped the ante over the last 10 years.
Sorry, our children. Whose children?
Our children as a nation.
Whose
are
children?
You a father, incidentally?
Whose children?
Are you a father?
Business. That's none of your business, I'm a
father. Oh, okay, so I take it you're not.
You're willing to waive your children, but I'm not going to play fine.
Just step back a sec, yeah? When I say our children, that's because I look at it as a society, okay? You can be as individualistic as you want, but I'm looking at it as a society issue.
Don't try to nationalise other people's children.
Yeah,
every family is different.
Listen, I didn't come on here...
You look after your children.
I didn't come on here to argue nonsense. I came on here, hopefully...
shouldn't have booked you then.
I came on here, hopefully, to further the discussion. Now, if that's not what you want to do, then I would suggest that you just be quiet for a second and allow other people who actually have a knowledge that you appear not to have...
Well, he's entitled to his opinion, Sonia.
Yeah, but it's more than that. You can already tell by his attitude that actually he knows probably slightly less than you could get on a stamp. And I know that because I've dealt with these kind of attitudes before.
Yes, I know, but I've heard this so many times. You come on puling on about saving the children. All you're really concerned about is controlling adults. Be honest.
That's a ridiculous thing. Listen, let's further this argument. Let's not turn this into a personal thing. Let's further this discussion.
So, no, you personalise it by insulting me.
Oh,
you want to control adults. Admit it. You want to ban porn. You want to stop people from looking at websites. You want to stop people from having their dating services. It's all for the sake of saving the kiddies, I know. But this sort of argument's been going on for centuries now.
Says the man who isn't a father and has...
How do you know he's not a father?
Do you know what? Because he's not answering that he is. If he was, like Tony Blair and with the whole MMR thing, when somebody has done something or can stand up to it, they admit it. I'm telling you, that man is not a father.
Well, I'm glad you're not my mother, I can say that.
There you go, he's not a father. So anyway, shall we continue with this?
Well, go on. Explain why you're not trying to control adults.
Of course I'm not trying to control adults. It's ridiculous. Look, what I'm talking about, and it's very, very serious to me, is how this is actually affecting our children.
Our children? Whose children?
That children now, as young as boys, have quite serious body issues. Okay?
You look after your children, we'll look after our children.
You don't have children. What are you talking about? You don't have children.
I haven't told you that I haven't children.
We know you don't. I can tell you don't. But the thing is...
Well, last time I spoke to him, I was having a conversation about his child.
Well, do you know what, then? That's really shocking. That's actually shocking because he's displaying an inordinate amount of ignorance about a subject that you really should know more about as a parent.
I'm saying that you should look after your children and stop talking about our children.
I have.
Well, good luck to you. Stop telling other people how to bring up their children.
Do you know what? This is exactly what's wrong with society. This is exactly what's wrong with society. People don't take responsibility for their actions.
I'll take responsibility for my actions. You take responsibility for yours, and leave other people alone.
I am. You'd be surprised how many people actually agree with my viewpoint, you see, and how many people are appalled by yours, which is let it be a free-for-all. Let our children, pan out in a certain way in 10 years' time when we've lost control of it, when we've hardwired young boys in such a way to view young girls in such a way, when we've completely dumbed down society so that little girls have no aspirations and no ambition because people like you have reduced them to sexual creatures.
Sean, do you have any concerns at all about how the media portrays the extent to which it portrays and sexuality manifests in the media and the effect on children? Do you have any concerns?
I find the media's frequent obsession with the sexual act increasingly boring, but that might be an effect of growing older. As far as letting children watch these things is concerned, it is a matter for parents. I would probably rather a child were watching erotica on television than hardcore violence or hardcore socialism. But you see, it is a question... It is a
hardcore socialism?
Yeah. I think that's far more mind-rotting than anything to do with the sexual act. But the point is, Nicky, it is up to individual parents and families to bring up their children according to their own values. The moment you start expecting the state to do that for you. Now, you may start out, you may be a fundamentalist Christian, and I know where this lady's coming from.
I am not a fundamental Christian, and look how much space I'm giving you to say
you are.
You're making huge assumptions about each other, I've got to say.
I don't need to make assumptions, it's all there. But, Nicky, look how much space I'm giving him to speak when he constantly interrupts what I have to say. That already tells you about the level of disrespect that man is coming from. That, that's an interesting thing. And it's just ridiculous what he's saying. It really is. This whole thing about hardcore erotica. When you see a Lady Gaga or Rihanna, that's not about erotica. That is about a level of dumbing down, and abuse is about debasing children. It's just ridiculous. And that's for saying rather than watch socialism on TV. I mean, have you brought this man in just to be the sort of Coco the Clown character? What?
He's a libertarian. This is a strand of thinking. Listen, thank you both very much indeed. We're going to come to Stephen in Chorley and John in Birmingham shortly. It's 9:48.